Do a search on Google for stories about presentations that went bad, and you will find thousands of them. One of my favorites is from a Mrs. Sandy Sloan, who was giving a presentation to MBA students on how to give an effective presentation. Walking up the steps to the stage, she tripped and her note cards went flying everywhere. The audience responded with a little nervous laughter, while she and the professor recovered her cards. That's when she had discovered she didn't number the cards. She took her place at the podium, steeled her nerves, and began with lesson number 1 of how to give an effective presentation. Make sure to number your note cards. Everyone relaxed and they all laughed. She then threw the cards on the floor and began her presentation with lesson number 2. Rehearse and know your subject matter so cards are not necessary. Hello again, classmates. This is Bill Perkins, and today I'm going to review 3 questions about Chapter 13 for our Module 9 discussion. First question, select the top 3 pieces of advice offered and the top 3 worst pieces of advice offered by Chapter 13. Use the text to explain itself and offer your advice. Be certain to provide context examples for what makes the advice good and bad. Firstly, I think the only bad piece of advice that the chapter gives is the idea that the audience doesn't notice when you forget something or when you're having issues, like what's caused by an adrenaline rush. If you just make them think you need a sip of water. The truth is, they will notice. What is important is how you handle it. Do like comedians, make a joke of it. If it's a highly emotional presentation, tell the audience how the information is making it hard for you to get the words out. Simply acknowledge it with a shrug and a smile. Or ignore it altogether, get that sip of water, and go from there. As long as you have gotten the audience to engage with you and the information, they will not care when there are bumps along the way. They will not notice. The 3 top best pieces of advice are as follows. Present from an outline on page 325. This allows you to have a more conversational quality. It gives you the ability to move around because you're not just reading from a manuscript. You can look around, walk around the stage, engage with your audience, and make eye contact. It helps you to avoid speaking in a monotone voice that happens when you're just reading out loud. You have the ability to change up your presentation, especially if you're going to make it more than one time. Even if you lose your place or go blank, it's easier to regroup and find where you left off using an outline than it is with a completely written out presentation. When I've had to give presentations to small groups in meetings, they frequently become more interactive with listeners asking questions while you give the presentation. An outline gives you the ability to answer the questions and then pivot back to the presentation, or even jump around in the presentation depending on the questions and answers and what information the boss now seems to want to know. The second piece of advice is PowerPoints can be a menace on page 329. It's overused as a crutch, and people use it as the whole presentation, turning themselves into nothing more than talking heads reading off a screen. It's supposed to be a supporting aid, to give information in a visual or auditory way to enhance the presentation. Follow the rule of 7. Only use key points, not full sentences. Use no more than 7 words per line. Include no more than 7 points per slide, and use a slide only if it will clarify a particular point. Keep the slides easy to read with simple, plain themes of color and font. The listener's attention is supposed to be on you, not what's up on the screen so much. Don't let it overpower your presentation. I think all of us have had to live through one too many droning, monotone, uninteresting PowerPoints. Please, no more. Finally, the last good piece of advice, practice makes perfect. The more you practice giving presentations, you will get better at them, and the practice will help you to tighten your flow, to make sure that information is presented in an understandable way. It also helps you to relax and to make sure that the desired conclusion is reached by the audience. How do you do that? Use a test audience. Get some people to listen to you. Ask them for real critiques. Ask them questions about the presentation and the material. Practicing has helped me to reorganize presentations in the past. I would get people together and I would give them a list of things that they should be able to answer when I was through. And then I'd make sure they could answer it, that they understood what I was talking about. If not, I made changes as needed. Mostly, remember, it's just a presentation. Relax, have fun if applicable. Little problems and lapses in memory can happen. Take them in stride. Stay calm and let the audience know it's okay to laugh. The more you engage with them, even in your mistakes, the more they will remember you and your presentation. The second question, what are the benefits and drawbacks of outlining your speech if you've outlined a presentation, for example, one of these videos, and have also presented without an outline or notes? Talk about the difference between presenting with and without notes. What do you believe is more effective? This information was already covered in part by the first question and is on page, once again, 325. I think outlining is the way to go. Outlining and visual aids help you to remember the information and the organization of your presentation. They are prompts. It allows you to have a more dynamic presentation, to be able to change it up as needed, and to engage more with your audience. Trying to present without notes is incredibly hard. It requires that you memorize everything, which is more likely to end up with you forgetting or skipping material, and it's far less dynamic. Plus the sheer amount of time it takes to memorize all of it. If everyone had the skill to memorize and then present information in a way that seemed fresh and original, we'd all be actors. It's not easy to do. Good presentations are about giving people information they will remember and that will move them to make a conclusion that you want. And only a dynamic, conversational, engaging presentation can do that. The final question for this discussion module is, using information presented in the chapter, discuss and be specific about your best video discussion main post. Review it, apply course material to it, explain what makes it your best. I think my best video discussion post was for Module 8. I worked to improve my introduction, as well as the transitions, not only from one question to the next, but also in the way that I transition from one idea to the next idea within a question. Also, just practice helps with making things get perfect. The more I've done this, the less I'm getting affected by the adrenaline rush. My voice is more steady, and I'm able to focus more on just trying to have a good time and not let myself get frustrated when I make a mistake. I pay more attention to whether the question was asking for information or a conclusion in my last video, and I try to structure my answers accordingly. I was also thinking more about repetition and how to do that. I hope the video discussion was better, and I hope this one will be even better than my last one. Each video has been a chance to improve and try to incorporate a little more information from the book. It's had the added benefit of helping us all to think more about the information in the chapters and find stories and experiences to relate what we're learning about. Being professional means being prepared. Knowing the information, the key points, the arguments, and the reasoning of your presentation are all key to being prepared. Practicing will ensure that you're ready for anything. Stories from Mrs. Sloan and other people teach us that when a presentation goes wrong, the only thing that matters is how the presenter responds to it. If we give our audience a way to engage with us, recognize the problem, and laugh about it, they will forgive us the blunder. Remember that even if the audience is forced to be there, a part of them wants to like the experience. Give them a reason to be interested in the material. Give them a reason to care about it, to relate to it and you, and to like you. Being professional and prepared will ensure that the rest follows naturally. Thank you for taking the time to watch another video. See you next week. Good night.